Hello everyone, my name is Ben Coleman. I work at the National Audit Office. I am a data analytics lead there, and I'm going to be talking about our bright and shiny data service. So this is something we've developed in-house to kind of deal with some of the issues about the way that we consider government releases statistics and data as kind of open data releases. So a little bit about the NEO. I won't spend too long on this given the time, and I know some of you will know about this already. Two streams to the NEO's work: financial audit work, 350 accounts audited a year, and then our value for money work, which is our kind of high-profile public-facing work, where we are looking at the effectiveness, efficiency, and economy of government spending. We have about 60 reports a year, value for money reports, and more kind of factual-based investigations. And the bottom bit is the key bit for me. These reports tend to draw upon a kind of a wide range of evidence published by government departments and other bodies. Often we'll get our own custom cuts of data from departments, but we do rely on published materials as well. So we are therefore a big user of government statistics and related data sets. Now, my kind of talk is about our kind of local solution to the way that government publishes data, which implies that there are some problems as we see it in terms of the way government publishes data. Now, I'm conscious I haven't got a huge amount of time to this bit could go on forever. But okay, so problem number one, inconsistent use of identifiers, right? So many of you, I don't know if you kind of use as a government data, but you'll be kind of familiar with this. So here's an example here. MOJ data, prison population, published monthly. MOJ data, prison staffing, all right? No codes applied, just names of prisons and entities. Matching them together, which is something we do in the data service, difficult, right? Yeah, often the names will be the same. Other times, the names will be slightly different, and we're then guessing, is Elmley the same as Elmley bracket Sheppey? Is the Verne 4 the same as the Verne? Presumably it is. One issue. That's just within kind of one department. If you go across a lot of departments, this is the number of different spellings and ways of talking about Bath and North East Somerset that we have come across when we've been developing the data service in only the last 4 years or so, and we're not covering kind of all data in the data service, it's just things that are relevant to our studies. Often local authorities obviously will have E-codes, ONS E-codes. Where they don't, some of them still don't, we'll be going off the names and then trying to match up on that basis, and it can be difficult. So that's kind of across different departments. You also get issues within the same statistical series, right? So this is data about civil service people surveys, so staffing data. How kind of agreeable are people to their manager? What do they think about their pay and conditions? This comes from one release, multiple tabs, right, for each year, in an attempt to give you an ability to create a time series. But note that the Centre for Environment, Fisheries and Agricultural Science in 2009 suddenly became Centre for Environment, Food and Agricultural Science in 2010, switched back 2011, 2012. Then it jumped down to, lost the environment part, Centre for Fisheries, Aquaculture, and then back to the Food and Agriculture. Now, I don't think they are all MOG changes, name changes. I think that is a definitional problem, a spelling problem, a person putting this stuff in manually problem. Same sort of thing, national savings and investment, jumping around 3 different versions, even within the same Excel file, multi-tabs. Create a time series if you want, but you're going to have to sort out our inconsistencies first. That's one issue. Difficult formats is another one that we come across a lot. So if you're looking to get one single number out of a lot of government stats, it's often quite easy. If you're trying to do more than that and kind of reuse that data, it can be more difficult. Here's one example. Local government finance. It's coming a little bit blurred there. This is local government financing data. Classic kind of publication arrangement, big Excel file, merged column headings, cascading column headings, makes it quite difficult to then reuse that data and link it to something else. Another example here, so this is the prison staffing data again. This one, same data in a table. For some reason, there's a big kind of page break added in, just for good measure, right? So if you want to print it out, great. If you want to pick a number out, great. If you want to kind of take all that data in one go and redo something with it, more difficult. You've got to spend time getting rid of all that blank space. Seems a bit pointless. Time series spread across many years. It's another issue we come across. So this is some CLG data. They have it's this data actually. So this is the spending data. That's part of a much bigger spreadsheet, set of spreadsheets covering all aspects of spending on roads, transport, hospitals, which are schools. And they all sit within separate bits on gov.uk, separate sheets, multi-tabs, not in a single thing. If you want to do a time series on this CLG data, you've got to take data from here, 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 here. There are multi-tabs in each. I added them up. There's 91 different Excel spreadsheets you would have to pull together to do a time series on every metric that they publish. And occasionally you also get data as text. So here's an example here. This is the prison stuff again, not as well on that. In 2015, more recently they've changed it, but they were publishing this data as a text file. Revisions is another issue. I'm just slightly conscious of the time. So revisions aren't always well publicised. So here we've got some adult social care data published on the 25th of October 2017. And then in March, it's revised. We have a little helpful note coming in here. But over on gov.uk, on their stats release page, there's no mention of that revision, right? And in particular, if like us, you're kind of conscious about things might change, you might subscribe to the feed here and you might try and get your email alerts, but you don't get them because gov.uk doesn't tell you that the thing has changed. You'll have to go here to find the thing has changed, which you can't spend every day checking, right? So impact on us, on users more generally. This is the often quoted stat. 80% of time data analytics uses are spent cleaning, finding data, not a lot of time left to actually using it. And that is what held true for us in the NEO. We were spending kind of too much time cleaning up data, decreasing our efficiency, increasing the quality risks, reducing the time we had available for doing stuff with that data. So we decided back in 2015 to develop this internal solution, the data service. It takes the form of an internal data warehouse. We've got now 500 statistical kind of measures. So each one of those things we looked at before is like a measure. The prison population data is a measure. Drawn from published data sets, and we maintain it in a central team. So we do kind of all the cleaning, and importantly, we do the conforming centrally. So we have a set of common dimensions, kind of arranged like this. So we arrange our data in a kind of classic fact and dimensions data warehouse model. You have your fact, which are your numbers. You have your dimensions, which are your unique breakdowns of things against that data. And then by doing that, it means you can take other data, like your sentences data and your spend data, and by snapping them to the same common dimensions, you can build a link there, and you can do some subsequent analysis much more easily. So we've kind of conformed government data into that structure, using a set of pipeline scripts, and importantly, using an evolved set of synonyms, which we've developed over time to kind of aid that confirmation process. And we have a little pipeline to help us do that. And then the thing itself, I know I've only got a few seconds, so the thing itself presents itself to our teams internally through an interactive web-based app built with R in-house. Data linkages are kind of exploited through that as well, so a user can select dataset A, dataset B, the data will be joined behind the scenes, they will be able to play with the data as if it was from the same source. A kind of pivot table-esque functionality really, but in an app. We have a related SharePoint site around metadata, and we're looking to kind of develop this thing further. So this was set up in 2015, started quite small, agile, built it over time. We now have those 500 measures, and we are looking to add more features to this. For example, people in the rest of our business, so the rest of the NEO, to be able to load data into this central service themselves, again using our synonyms and our systems. I did have a little demo of it, but I will save that in case anyone wants to ask, I guess.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Who'd like to ask the first questions? So we've got 3 down here. So go with Adam, and then we'll go back a row, and then back another row.
I always like to ask, with the 80% of analysts' time being used cleaning data, as a data architect, I can do one thing for you to get it to 75%. What would you pick?
Thank you. And if you just pass it behind you.
Thanks, Devon again from Policy and Practice. As the auditor responsible for more effective government, when you solve these problems for yourselves using your internal app, to what extent do you ensure that the government departments themselves that have had these problems internally or externally actually apply what you've learned, and can you?
Thank you. And the row behind.
Hello, Simon from Register Dynamics. This is a common problem we see quite a lot. I guess the question is there any way that other people can take the wonderful clean data that you've made and use it outside the NAO? Are you able to make that externally available? And if not, why not?
Thank you very much.
All right, okay, so on the 80 to 75% thing, there are obviously those bugbears we went through before. If I had to pick one, I would say formats. So departments releasing data in a format that is a kind of a reusable format. Okay, so obviously they're all kind of reusable in that they are Excel and things like that, but in a format which is not made for printing, yeah, but a format that's made with an expectation that people might actually want to be reusing this material and linking it to another department's material on the same, on the same dimensions. So that would be my kind of number one. And then after that, the kind of inconsistent identifiers. But we've kind of got a solution for that because we've built our synonyms over time, essentially, which kind of deal with that. The second one about the kind of passing the information back to departments. We have done a little bit of that, I think, but we probably haven't done as much as we could in terms of kind of passing back the knowledge we found when reusing or trying to reuse Department X's statistics and having trouble with that. That's something we're looking to do more of as we go forward. One of the things we did do early doors is we kind of registered an interest in the stats and said, hey guys, we're going to be using your stats. We sent them some information about what we were doing. And the main reason for that was the expectation that we might get notified if things would change, as we kind of like are now a registered user of that stat. That didn't happen. Things changed, not just kind of like identifiers, but the whole format in which things were published, the frequency in which things were published. There was no kind of notification process going on. But certainly we could do more around kind of helping departments improve their presentation layouts through feeding back the kind of issues we've experienced. So that's something we want to do. Releasing this thing externally, it is something I'm happy to say that we are currently exploring. We did look at it a couple of years ago, decided against it, but we have a new controller and auditor general now in place, and we are hoping to kind of revisit those aspects with him and kind of watch this space, I think.
Fantastic. Next set of questions. At the back there, and the two gentlemen here as well.
I won't admit which one it is, but I'm responsible for one of those inconsistent identifiers that you displayed. But it's partly a reflection on the question that just came about publishing, but it also connects to sort of the how easy it is for analysts to actually construct and publish data from government in a sort of useful system, I guess. It's more of a reflection that one, there's not an agreed sort of standard on how a machine-readable format is published, and how we go around conventions like actually variable names and things like that, when on a published table you have the sort of nice human-readable format. So I think there's a piece there about what that looks like, and connected to that also sort of the role of what data.gov UK should be, or something. Should there actually be sort of a bit like you have on the ONS? You can go into their quite complicated time series sort of database thing. Should we not be striving ultimately for something that's across government like that?
Thank you.
Hi, it's Sam from RJ again. So I think you've shown with great clarity some problems with the way data is shared by different departments. I wonder if you had any comments about how reproducible some of these numbers are likely to be in the way they've been created in the first place, and whether you think that maybe the analysis that underpins them might also not be reproducible, or whether that's a problem.
Thank you. And if you could pass it just in front.
Kevin McConroy, Open University. Two linked things. One is, I can see how the way you've set up this warehousing in the data service makes very good sense for things which you're going to have to return to time and time again, which obviously you have to do a lot. I just wondered how easily extensible it was for ad hoc new bits of data collection that you might need for a particular value for money project or something like that. And kind of linked to that, this is a half-baked thought. I spent quite a lot of time working with journalists, data journalists and investigative journalists. Data journalists have a lot of tools for doing this kind of thing, which in my experience, people outside that area don't know very much about. Have you got involved in that? Because if you haven't, I suggest you might ask some of them.
Thank you very much.
Right, yes. So in terms of the kind of the analyst's perspective, I totally get that. So before joining the NEO, I worked as a government statistician. I was producing similar kind of materials. It didn't particularly dawn on me that people might want to reuse my materials and link it with another department's data. So I totally get that. And whether the government should be striving to do something similar, I would say yes. And I have heard that the ONS are kind of trying to move in that direction. How far they've got in the most recent period, I'm not sure. But I know there are kind of moves afoot to kind of unify some of the data that government releases and make it more easily kind of queryable and accessible. Maybe others in the room might know more about the kind of latest state of that project than me. The reproducibility of the raw statistics. Yeah, I don't know. The data service doesn't really give us an angle on that, I would say. We are kind of consuming the materials that have been published by the departments and have been badged as national or official statistics. What I would say is there are an awful lot of revisions that tend to go on, I have noticed, as a consumer of these statistics myself, and that might be indicative of some of the, of some issues underneath the hood, let's say. But I think it probably does vary wildly between departments as to the robustness of the materials anyway and how they're collected. And then the third piece around the kind of ad hoc use in the data service, yes, that is definitely a kind of a challenge for us. So there is a time investment to get data curated into our warehouse. So we tend not to put in ad hoc uses internally. We tend to see if the team who's requesting this data can make a case that they are going to come back to this in the future, and therefore the kind of payoff, the time benefit payoff would come. But we have kind of recently developed this load your own functionality, which we think might help with that as well. So teams can curate effectively in a kind of controlled environment their own data as well, and cross-tabulate it against what we've already held in the main warehouse. The data journalism point, I have not had any kind of dealings with data journalists around the tools that they have, but I would be kind of very happy to, keen to pursue that, I think.
Excellent. Well, with 10 seconds to go. Ben, thank you very much indeed.